All right, so guys, we are making something delicious and old-fashioned. So normally people now, they make all of their pies in a pan, but we're not doing that. We're actually gonna make our hand pies and they're gonna get fried. And I cannot tell you how delicious they are, so we're gonna get fried today. So we're gonna go in and start with our 2 cups of Granny Smith apples. We're gonna put that on the stove top. Make sure you have a nice sized saucepan. Doesn't need to be huge, but big enough to put all your apples in. And then we're also gonna put into that some butter. Perfect. And we're gonna put some sugar. We put both white sugar and granulated sugar. We're also gonna put like a teaspoon of cinnamon in. Now, all of our recipes are gonna be available online at cupcakefairy.com. So you can just click the link and find all of these recipes. But yeah, this is right here. So I'm always tasting things I love to eat. I tasted these, they're so amazing. All right, so we're gonna go in and put these on the stove top, and we're gonna put that on medium heat, guys. And we're gonna let that simmer. So go in and turn that on, perfect. And so in the meantime, what we're gonna do is, oh, by the way, those are simmering for 15 or 20 minutes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in and make our crust that goes with this yummy pie. So Joe is gonna go in and take our AP flour, there we go. And he's gonna go in and take our, so this right here is baking powder. So this recipe calls for self-rising flour, but I didn't have self-rising flour. I was like, well, why don't you just teach everybody how to make it? So the way you make self-rising flour is you take, for every cup of AP flour, you put 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt. So here we have 2.5 cups of AP flour. So we're gonna do a tablespoon baking powder plus just a little bit more. And then we're also gonna do a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So Joe, go in and put all of this together. And that's the sugar. Put that in at the same time. And we're gonna give it a good whisk just to make sure everything is nicely mixed. Now, if you already have a pre-made self-rising flour, that's perfectly fine. You're just gonna use 2.5 cups. You're not gonna go through those additional steps of adding in the baking powder or the salt. But you are gonna be adding in your sugar. But again, that'll be on the recipe link and you'll be able to see for yourself. All right, that's looking pretty great, Joseph. So now to that, we're gonna be cutting in our shortening. That is 1/2 cup of vegetable shortening, guys. So we're gonna use now you're gonna need a biscuit cutter, or what you're gonna need is 2 forks. Now, honestly, I've never used a 2-fork method. I use the 1-fork method. So I just literally, if I don't have a biscuit cutter, but I always have one, but in case I don't, I'll just use a fork and cut it in. But for you guys at home, if you have a biscuit cutter, use it. It does make your life a little easier. So we're just gonna cut that in until everything is a fine crumb. Basically pea-sized crumbs is what we're thinking. And then once that's done, we're gonna go in and do our 1/2 cup of ice water. So if you see here, I have 2 measuring cups. You're probably like, why does she have 2? Is she nuts? Well, yeah, I am a little. But no, well, basically what I'm gonna do is I want this icy cold water. So I'm just gonna take and measure out 1/2 cup while Joe is doing that. We don't wanna get any of that ice in. There we go. There's our 1/2 cup, so we're done. And to that, we're gonna add 1 egg yolk. And then we're gonna add in a little secret weapon. This is white vinegar. So basically, this is like science. So baking is science. So I'm gonna take this, and what it's gonna do to the crust is, it is gonna make it a much more tender, flaky crust. So I'm just gonna add in a couple of squirts, basically a couple of teaspoons. So let's do that. And no, guys, you can't taste the vinegar. Because I know some of you are like, oh my God, am I gonna taste the vinegar? You're not gonna taste the vinegar. So we're just gonna give that a good stir. And don't get cute. So at home, if you have margarine or butter, don't get cute and try to substitute. You need to use vegetable shortening. So let me tell you, I got cute, okay? Anytime I'm telling you not to do something, it's because I've done it and made the mistake. So I got cute. I was like, no, I want butter. So I don't need this shortening stuff. I want real butter. So I put butter in there and went to fry these in the pan, and they disintegrated. So all I had left was a bunch of apples boiling in oil. It was a mess, and I was very disappointed. So just use your vegetable shortening, and everything's cool. We're looking good, babe.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So now what we're gonna do is, Joe is gonna go on and take this and pour that in there. And now he's gonna get handsy. So we're gonna have him, actually you could probably start, Joe, yeah, with your spoon, but at some point he's gonna have to use his hands. So this actually is very interesting because it really looks like a biscuit dough when you roll it out. It doesn't quite look like the consistency of a pie dough because it doesn't quite have as much shortening required in it. And that's the difference. And this is also, like I said, it comes with self-rising flour. And if you make a pie dough, it does not, you don't put baking powder in pie dough. So you just do basically vinegar, egg yolk in my case, vegetable shortening and or butter and flour. And that is gonna be your pie dough. And then also sugar and salt, of course.
I'm doing this?
Yeah, so you're gonna do that until all of this comes together in one wonderful cohesive mix and a nice little dough. And you don't want to overwork your dough. You basically want to do this just until all of the components come together. Overworking your dough is going to make for a tough dough. And then you're going to be super annoyed and you're like, oh, this is not all that great. And then you're going to blame me and it was you. So we are going to make sure we're not overworking the dough. We're going to work it just until it comes together in a nice little ball. And then we're going to put that aside. And then what we're going to do is we are going to let it rest in the fridge for just a bit. And then we're gonna bring it back out, roll it out on our floured surface, and we'll show you the rest of those steps when we come back. All right, so guys, we are now on to our dough. Our dough is nice and cooled. So we're gonna go in and take a golf piece size of the dough, like this. And my husband said he did not want to roll.
I'll roll.
Even though I think he should roll.
I'm gonna roll.
I'm like, oh my gosh, it's, you know, this is okay. It's okay to make a mistake.
I don't want you guys to see how clumsy my hands are.
We have lots of people at home that don't know how to do this, and so you're my amateur, and so you get to show them how to do it.
Wait a minute, I want to do that part.
Oh, okay. Go on and do that.
I'm cooking now.
Oh my God.
All right, here we go.
There we go. So we have our golf size piece of dough, and here we already have our cooked apples. Now to our apples, we went on and added roughly 2 to 3 teaspoons of cornstarch that was dissolved in a teaspoon of water. So you see what Joe is doing? So he's not doing too bad. But what we really want is we want to roll it this way. We want to roll it into a rough circle. So just keep that in mind, guys. Roll it into a rough circle. And I'm using a French rolling pin, which, by the way, guys, is the best kind to use. Don't use the kind your grandma used. They had those 2 rolly things at the end that are super annoying. Get a nice, wonderful one-piece French rolling pin. They're so much easier to use, and they're just more efficient in the end. All right. Don't worry about if a little piece of your dough falls off. You can always put it back in there. It's no big deal. This is a very forgiving recipe. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that and we're gonna add about a tablespoon of that filling to it. Very good, about a tablespoon. That looks pretty good, Joe. All right, perfect. Don't spread it out like he's doing. You don't need to do that.
Let's undo it.
Oh my God.
There you go.
There we go, guys. All right, and so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our hands and we're gonna fold that over. So you know those little pies that you get from McDonald's? Those little, wonderful little pies? Well, McDonald's started during an era when people made hand pies. So that's what McDonald's has. So the one thing I'm missing, guys, so bear with me for a second. I need a fork because we're gonna be forking this right here. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna we're gonna trim a little bit of this off. We'll just use our fork to do it. Don't be, you know, if you're missing a little something, no big deal. I'm always improvising in the kitchen, as you will see. All right, so we're gonna do that, perfect. And then we're gonna fork together our ends like this. But yeah, McDonald's makes these, and those are actually what used to be called hand pies because it's a small little pie that you deep fry. Look at that, guys. You see that? Beautiful. So we're gonna put that right there. Joe's gonna do one more, and then we're gonna get that going on our stovetop. All right,
yes.
Yep, looks good, yeah.
All right, wait a minute. I can't forget my artisan move.
Artisan, okay.
There we go.
All right.
Ready?
So yeah, but just keep in mind that when you're doing this, you do want to get your oil going over here on your eye. You need to get a really good thermometer. I prefer digital thermometers, so you can make sure that when you put your oil on, it gets to 350 degrees at least. You don't want it to go too much higher because you want to burn your delicious little treat. But you want it at 350 degrees. If it is not 350 degrees, if it is lower than that, there is a chance not only that your crust will absorb way too much oil, It may even disintegrate in the oil.
Okay, I'm struggling. Here you go.
Guys, there's always a way. So what Joe didn't do, so take your rolling pin and roll it in that flour a little bit so it doesn't stick to your pastry. You see that? Look at that. That's all he did wrong. And we can make this work. So we just put that together. I think my husband was getting a little nervous, but it's okay. Just keep in mind you're at home, you're chilling and relaxing, maybe watching a little Netflix. And that's it. Look at that. Perfect, babe.
Perfect.
All right, so what we'll do, since this is a bit of an oval, a little bit of an oblong, we're gonna go this way. Looking good. Perfect. And we're gonna take this, we're gonna go over. Just make sure, of course, that your filling is completely cooled before you start putting it inside of your dough, because if it's hot, you'll end up melting your dough, and you don't want that. All right, perfect. Of course, our entire recipe is going to be available on our website, cupcakefairy.com. You'll be able to click the link and see the exact recipe so you can make sure you're doing it perfectly, like I know you want to do. All right, this is a really easy recipe, pretty much like all my recipes. I don't like complicated food. I like food that's good and simple. So here we go. Look at that, guys. Perfect. So now we're gonna take these on over to the stove and we're gonna get this going. So now, guys, I'm checking on my temperature. So we're using our thermometer to sort of check the temperature and make sure it's at 350 like we need it. And we're almost there. So take just another moment or two and we'll be there. I'm gonna turn this up just a tad bit to make sure our frying temperature is just right. We're gonna keep checking that. You see I have a wonderful little digital thermometer. It keeps me on point. And by the way, I use thermometers for most things that require temperature checks in my kitchen. So it's very accurate and easy for anybody to read and use. All right, guys, looks like we're there. So we're gonna go in and pop these in. You're gonna want it to fry just until it's brown on each side. We're gonna go in and get our little spatula. Looking good. And you don't want to over fry these, guys. So I put everything in the test kitchen before I get going. And when I was frying these about an hour and a half ago, I stopped paying attention for a moment and it burned on one side just a little. Not enough for me not to eat it, but it definitely got a little toasty. So just pay attention to what you're cooking, just to make sure that you're not overcooking your delicious dessert. All right, let's take a look here. Not quite, but almost. Perfect. And if you're supposed to seal the edges just to make sure your filling doesn't end up coming out of your pad thai. And you should be good to go. But if you hear a little bit of extra sizzling going because it may have opened a little bit, don't worry about it. It will not come out of the pie. All right, we're looking good. Looking delicious. All right, so they're looking nice and golden brown on that first side. So we're gonna keep going. It's probably gonna fry for approximately like 3 minutes on each side. And then when they come out, you can literally eat them pretty much, give it maybe a minute or two to cool if you can control yourself, but I know I couldn't. All right, so we're gonna go in and put this onto our plate we have ready here. Just get a little quarter sheet pan or something like that you have, and just prepare it and have it ready for your little pies to come out. There we go. There we go. There's one. And there's our second one. All right, we're gonna go back to the table now. All right, as a finishing touch for our handmade apple pies, we have a little cinnamon sugar mixture. Basically, it's just a couple of tablespoons of sugar with a teaspoon of cinnamon. And we're gonna take it and sprinkle it over our warm pies. And that's it, guys. There's those pies in a nutshell. They are done, ready to go. They're delicious, they're flaky, and they're ready to eat. We know you're gonna enjoy these. You can put a little scoop of ice cream on there if you'd like. You can even drizzle it with caramel, but that's it. They're all done, very simple to make and very delicious. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you the next time.